Guys, I'm so excited. I'm almost a little bit in shock, even though we've just been speaking to each other. I'm like, Bridget James Ling is in front of me on Iconic, the podcast. Can we believe this? So before I let Bridget talk, I just want to tell everyone how I found her and why she's on the podcast. So, fun story. Me and Bridget were in the, I was like, how does that? Me and Bridget were in this like high level membership thing together, right? I was in this membership and she worked one-to-one with a mentor. She did a VIP weekend. Like I knew her name, right? Because she was very active in the group, all these different things. But I didn't like, I'm not someone that really goes down rabbit holes and goes looking at people. Like I recognize the name, but I didn't really look into her. And then it was really random. It was April this year. I'd been out of mentorship for about 4 months and I actually reached out to my old one-to-one mentor and I was like, I'm ready to come back into mentorship. Have you got any availability? And she was like, oh, I'm just taking a little break, but August, September, I'll be back. But I'm one of those people, like when I want mentorship, I want it now. And I'm like, can't wait till August, September. So I'd got it in my head. I was like thinking about working with someone else. And then you must have come up on my explore page or something because I just like suddenly stumbled on something of yours. And then you were promoting the Millie Moves. So it was like, it was a masterclass all about how you'd hit your million. And then you offered like a fast action, like bundle thing where you got a few little like mini courses and we got like Voxer broadcast group. And it was just, I was literally in it for about 5 minutes, like this bundle. And I was like, Bridget, I need to come in your mastermind because then I think I'd gone and like obviously followed you and on your story you were like, we're enrolling for the mastermind now. Anyway, I need to go back and check because it is funny. I think I'd messaged Bridget about 3 times, but I'd messaged her about different things because I think I'd messaged her once that maybe I messaged about the mastermind. She'd like in my head ignored it. So I was like, oh, maybe she didn't want to work with me. Then I messaged her about something else. Anyway, she wasn't replying. So then I messaged her from my other accounts, my health account. And I was like, oh, she's looked at my business account. My audience following is too small. And you know, this is a wound of mine, right, Bridget? Like I always talk about the audience size. She's always like, forget the audience size. And then, so I'll message her from the bigger account. Maybe she'll take notice of me. Anyway, she was like, oh, Lynda, you'd gone to junk. And then we just like talked about the mastermind. Like, it was literally like, tell me about why you want to join it. I said some words. You were like, you're perfect. Come inside.
I knew it.
And then she made me wait for 2 months. So I'm like, all I want to do is be inside this mastermind. She kept showing it to her stories. Like she'd be like, mastermind call. My women are amazing. She kept showing it. And I honestly, like, it wasn't even 2 months because it was the end of April and it was like I started 1st of June. But it was like 5 or 6 weeks, which is the longest weeks of my life until I got inside. And anyway, now I've been inside for nearly 6 months and it's amazing. So that is my first, like, how fun, Bridget. And the other part of the story, I also want to say this, right? Because it's an important message. So my one-to-one thing had fallen through. I wasn't really looking for a mastermind. Like I was looking for one-to-one. And then there was another person promoting her one-to-one who, funnily enough, works with the same mentor as Bridget does. And I'd been looking at her mastermind. Sorry, yeah, she's promoting mastermind. She'd been promoting this mastermind. And I'd kind of gone, not a financial priority right now. I don't think I want to invest in a mastermind. And so I decided no. And it was literally, I've told you the story before, Bridget. Later when I then discovered Bridget. And the reason why, and this is really important, the reason why I wanted to work with Bridget, because I didn't ask anything about the mastermind. I didn't ask what was involved in it, what you got in it, anything. I was just like, I want to be in this person's energy.
Yeah.
And the reason why I fell in love with you and wanted to work with you, because I know who your mentor, I know you work with different people, but because I knew this mentor, I knew how different you were. I knew how different your way of thinking, the way you approach business. And I'm like, this is what I want. Like this, I don't want a mini me of somebody else. Like I want to work with someone who's like clearly incredible in their own right, doing their own thing, all these kind of things. Right. And I felt, some people just sort of kind of become mini me's. So you are incredible. Like you are such a trailblazer. You are creating so much success and creating it in such a short space of time. And because I'm close to you, I also know what the next goals are, which are just insane. So with all that said, welcome, Bridget, to the podcast. Thank you for opening season 2 for us, because you are going to be the first one going out for season 2. Wow. I've not had a guest for so long. It's like crazy. Now you can talk about yourself and tell everyone a little bit about you. So I would love you to say, like, what it is that you do in the world, a bit about your journey of how you got to be here and all the things.
Well, that was the best intro I've ever had on a podcast.
Quite long, wasn't it? We got any time?
I loved it because it's funny you talk about the Instagram DM thing. People always think like, is that a strategy that you're using? And I'm like, no, I just don't respond.
Yeah, like
I'm
people
like,
go to requests and you don't see it, and it's like it's not on purpose. It's just like,
no,
yeah,
you know, I've also had something on Instagram recently where it's jumbling up all of my DMs. So you might have messaged me and now it's gone. Like I even if I sort
yes.
by unread. And so, but it's funny. I actually just had another mastermind client join. Similar thing happened. She went to the request folder. Then she messages me on TikTok and she's like, Bridge, I don't want to bother you, but can I be in the mastermind? So
It's that
now
thing of like ignore them and make them want it more.
but I'm not doing it on purpose because I love like talking with people and responding to people. But um, that's so cool too about the activational energy piece you said of, you had said like, I don't want to be in a mastermind. And I see this all the time. And I'll introduce myself in a second here, but with like, we people wanting to buy from other people, will hear an objection and they'll go, oh, Bridge, well, that person said they can't afford it. But then that same person that said they can't afford it goes and signs up for like a $25,000 program the next day. And I'm like, they could afford it.
Exactly. That was my, yeah, that's the point I was trying to make that I didn't. It was like, yeah, I decided a mastermind wasn't a financial priority. Yours was actually double the price. I'm just going to say that. And then it was like, now it is a financial priority because it's with
Wow.
Bridget, where it's like, it wasn't when it was the other
Wow.
person. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I get that. And I've been on the other side of that too. I've been on the other side of it where the person tells me no. And then I see them go and buy something. And I love those moments because it's like, ooh, like, okay, I can learn something from this. Like that they're doing something. And I actually just made a post about that today about your audience. They feel you more than they hear you. And so then the energy and who you're being piece is more than what do I say to get people to buy.
Mm,
So
yeah.
yeah. But hi, I'm
Hi.
Bridget. Okay, so what do I do? So I help people build just like these magnetic multi-million dollar movements. And to me, a movement is something that it's not transactional. It's not a boring business. I heard someone say this at a conference recently. They said movement makers dominate. And that just landed for me because I was like, that's it. That's always been what Freedom Queen is. It's not a coaching business. It's so much bigger than, I'm not putting coaching businesses down. I'm saying it's like its own sector. A movement maker
Mm,
is someone that you're probably you're multi-passionate, you're multifaceted. You want to serve people in more than just a one-to-one coaching session. You have like a bigger vision, and maybe that's like stages or books or conferences, or maybe you're a really good example of this, Lynda. You have multiple skill sets. You're an expert in health, you're an expert in mindset, you're an expert in the breath work, you're an expert in business. And so typically I see movement makers, they're really activational. They have like some deeper knowing. And we've talked about this before. It's like you knew it since you were a little girl. You're just like, I know I'm it. Like, there's something about you. And you always find a way. Like nothing's going to stop you. And that's something that I've always loved about our relationship and you. It's not like, what do I post on Instagram? But also we do talk about that, but it's much bigger than that. You have this bigger purpose. So that's what I help people do, build $1 million, multi-million dollar magnetic movements.
yeah. And it's incredible. And so talk to us about, so you recently used, so in the mastermind at the moment, we keep talking about like, I want to be famous. I was always going to be like the famous one. I was going to be famous.
Yes.
It's like the conversation of the week, which is so funny because
Ooh.
I'd already written a post about being famous. And then we started having this conversation. It's really funny because it's something in the air, but like, let's talk
Yes,
about that. Like as a kid, were you always like the go-getter,
oh my God.
the high
Yeah.
achiever?
Yes. But like I was like the star of the show. I mean, I was the only girl in my family and the youngest. And my parents kind of programmed me. They're like, you're going to be famous. My mom would always say, your name in lights, your name in lights. You can do anything you want to do. And that's just how I was. My dad has a huge ego, like massive ego. And then my mom's like very kind, caring human being. So I have this like beautiful combination of these two crazy people. And they just were like, you can do it. And I remember like that was just it. Like I studied dance all of high school. I was always star of the show, always number one. I'm very competitive. I love competition. I love auditioning. I love the cutthroatness of auditions. I love like getting told no. I love being told like suck it in or like do it better. Or, like it suck. Like that sounds like probably awful, but I love it. And in high school, I got most likely to be famous as my senior superlative. And I'll never forget that because it's just like, duh. Yeah.
Yeah, I am gonna be. I am gonna be famous. And do you know what? That's what I love about this whole, I love how social media has just opened this whole new world of like
Yes.
possibilities. Because like when I was growing up, you were famous because you're a pop star or a sports person, or maybe you're really famous in musical theatre or something, but there like kind of wasn't everything, or like a model, whatever it is, right? But there's like anyone can become famous now via
Yeah.
social media, by, like you say, by creating a movement, by creating something people want to follow, they want to be a part of.
Yeah, you no longer, and everything's actually moving away from mainstream. No one likes mainstream media anymore. All the views are now on small micro influencers. And many times we're in the online space are making more money than, some of the celebrities because of our profit margins and the way that we work as business owners.
I was literally thinking that the other day. I don't know what all the shows that you guys have in the US, but we have like Love Island, like all these kind of, reality TV dating programs. And then they talk about like the newspapers will like talk about how much money these people are making, or this like brand deal they got, and they got this merch. And I always giggle to myself because I always think, well, none of them are making as much as Bridget. Bridget's making more.
I am like, I love being a secret ninja. Like I'm like yesterday I was in the beach in Costa Rica. Robbie and I went swimming in the ocean, and I'm sitting there like it's pouring down rain. We're eating ceviche outside. I just look like this cute little girl. And I'm like, y'all have no idea inside I'm secretly a ninja.
Yes. Yes, I love that. Okay, so let's talk a bit more about your story then. So you talk about us from the dance to the teaching to the coaching, like how it all happened.
Well, okay. So when I was younger, I studied entrepreneurship. So I went to school part-time in high school. I went to school part-time and I learned how to build businesses, dance businesses in person. I've always been really good at sales. I got my first job when I was like 12. I love making money. My parents always taught me work hard. I've had so many businesses when I was a little girl, like turning my kitchen into a business. I just love transactions. Like I think it is the most fun thing ever to make things for people, sell it, and then watch their face light up with joy. I used to sell jewelry, and then I studied how to build dance businesses and got really good at it. And when I was in high school, I started my first coaching business, which I would teach this. There's a specialized dance practice called Royal Academy of Dance. And got specialized in that, and I would teach that and charge like $100 an hour. So in high school, I was making a lot more than my friends were. And I also got paid to study how to build businesses. So I already had this like upper hand and this way of thinking differently than everyone else. They were taking boring classes, staying in school all day. I was like, I'm going to go halftime, learn a skill and make money at the same time. And that just shows a lot of the way I still think today. So then I went to college, got my degree in dance, started doing different dance internships, how to manage dance companies. And I always wanted to live in New York City. And so I was like, I'm going to live in New York City. I don't know how. I just know I'm going to get the job. And that's very much so my personality. I don't know how. I don't need to know the how. But I just know this is what I want. And so I'm going to do it. And so I said it. I got the job, the job that I wanted in New York, teaching dance full time. And I said, okay, I'm going to teach dance full time and also audition. In my first year in New York City, I was teaching like 22 dance classes a week, making my first income was 58,000, my first salary job. And then I was trying to audition and work on my own technique and things like that, and just live and be a human being. I had so much student loan debt. I was walking dogs. I started then managing a dance fitness at the front desk of a dance fitness studio to bring in extra income. And I was just like doing a lot. And my year 2 of living in New York City, I had stopped dancing for myself. Like I was so exhausted. I was just 22 dance classes a week, plus working out on my own, working every day from like 5 a.m. all the way until 4 p.m. in the school system. I was working in the Bronx, and the kids were amazing, but the administration was just awful. The people, they were like, if you work here, you can't have a gym membership. You shouldn't be in a relationship. And I was like, what the heck is this? So I hired a life coach that I wanted to work with. I didn't have enough money. I actually got another job to be able to afford to do that. Started doing side hustles as much as possible. And I got the coach and I said, I want to quit this job and work a different job in New York. I want to start dancing more. And there was one more thing, like double my savings. And I worked with her for, I think it was an 8-week package, maybe 12 weeks for $800, Lynda. And I thought that was a lot of money. I was like, oh my God, $800? No way. But I did all of those 3 things in the span of those 8 weeks together. I quit my job. I got a new one. I was now the head manager of a dance company. Some of their marketing, their sales, their auditions, their education program, administrative work. I doubled my savings and I started performing in the city. Like I got like this off-Broadway show. I started hosting my own performances, which is what I love doing, curating things. And I was like, wow, this works. Like, this is incredible. And so, once I got that job in New York City, I was a month in and I realized I actually don't want this. Like, I got the job, I took a pay cut for it. I was already planning my escape plan in 2019. So I started working more on the side at building my own dance coaching business and teaching people that way. And at the same time, I was doing network marketing. So I had like so many different things happening, but I was just in my head, I thought the only way to leave a job was to replace it with a bunch of mini jobs. The only way to leave a job was to become a freelancer or do all of these different more gig economy type of work. And then in March of 2020, I got the job teaching these dance fitness classes. And I had already started really selling a lot of supplements online in this network marketing company. I had enough money to leave the job. COVID hit literally that day in New York City. They shut down all the studios. And I was like, maybe I should stay in this for a little bit longer. I moved to my parents in Maryland for 2 weeks. And then I just went in and I was like, I'm not returning. We need to build the empire. And like, there's a whole story around that, but then I quit.
Amazing. Honestly, oh my God, you're like so incredible and you like achieved so much. It's like wild. So then you started building the empire. And when did the travel come in? Did the travel come in right at the start of the empire?
Pretty much in 2018.
I'm calling it an empire already. It's like the empire.
The empire. In 2018, I had visited Costa Rica, the town I live in now. And at that time, I loved it. I remember walking on this beach that I live at today. And I said, I'm going to be my own boss one day and live here. And in 2018, I had booked another trip back to this same town for March of 2020. And it got canceled during COVID. So I canceled the trip to Costa Rica because I was already like starting to leap when COVID hit. I was like, I'm getting out of this matrix. And then once I quit my job, I started booking traveling. I started doing solo trips. I booked a trip to San Diego and just fell in love with California. I had just signed a new lease. I moved from the Upper East Side to Brooklyn, and I was going to stay there for a year and maybe move to San Diego. And then I was swimming in the ocean one day, and I said, in New York, why don't I book a 1-month trip to Costa Rica? I work for myself. I work online now. Let's do this. So I booked a 1-month trip, but my higher self got a sublet for 2 months. It didn't make any sense. Like, what was I thinking? Like, where was I going to live? Like, I got someone to rent out, but my trip was for 1 month. And so I guess my higher self knew I was never actually returning. And I didn't actually return to the States until 8 months later, when I returned to sell everything that I owned and then full-time travel.
Wow. And so like, what's in my head is, I know some of these answers, but like for anyone listening, like, why you? Like, why has Bridget made this work when so many other people don't?
Okay, I'm going to be totally transparent. This is something that I've been thinking a lot about recently, and I definitely hit it in the beginning of my business. I really rely on God. And I see people that whether it's a connection with God or something bigger, for me it's God. And I can see like Lynda, you have that, like, you have the it factor. And it's like it factor, God, like there's like some magical thing happening within you. And I see this in different people. You can feel it from them. And I've always felt this inside of me. It's like I always say, like, she's got the God in her. It's like, whoa, like this is more than just like I was just at Russell Brunson's mastermind, and you can just see him on stage. He has the God thing. It has the it thing. It's like when I was a little girl, people would always say to me, like, you're gonna go really far. You have some weird aura about you. Like there's just something about you that I'm really interested in. And I think it's really just believing that you, like, there's something more. And so I don't ever attach myself to the how. I never attach myself. How will I get the job in New York City? I've always just been, who do I be? Who do I be in the audition? Who do I be when I apply for the job? Who do I be when I sell? And I really just kind of treat everything like it's one big play, showtime, fun thing. And that just allows, when you come with that energy, anything is possible. I don't get caught up in like, the minute details. I just really see it as one big like showtime fun energy game. And I wish more people would get into that energy, because all the time I'll experience problems, but then I'll tap back into that infinite source. And I'm like, all right, this might have knocked me down, but how is it serving me? Like, I'm crazy. I'm like, how is it going to help? How's it going to move me forward?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because you talked about God in Millie Moves, and it was one of those reasons. Like, I know, like, I'm like less about God, but more of that spiritual connection, like the universe. Like, obviously, I'm like astrology, human design. That's kind of like more my side. But like the fact that you believed that there was something bigger was like, again, another reason that I wanted to work with you, because I'm like, yeah, if someone's completely shut off to like there being anything greater power,
Yeah.
I would struggle with that. But yeah, just that thing about everything happens for a reason, right? And so like this happened to me recently, where I like got knocked out sick, and I thought it was going to be a 48-hour thing, then I thought it was going to be a 72-hour thing, and now we're like coming up to 3 weeks. I've literally just said before we started, I was like, Bridget, I'm still got this like niggle. I'm like, keep muting myself, you might see me cough, but don't worry, I'll mute. But like this, it was pretty bad for 2 weeks. And some people could just like go into the depth of despair of like, had all these different plans and now I can't do them, and XYZ. And I'm like, okay, every time it's like, how is this serving me? How is this serving me? Why is this happening for me? And actually what I realized, I need to update you, because every Monday I message Bridget and I'm like, we had an ascension weekend again. Everything happens on the weekend where you pull out your business. I'm like, all of these things dropped in. But I do think that sickness actually allowed me to reconnect myself more and actually reconnect with my mission and purpose again, which I know I'm always doing. Like every week I'm telling Bridget something different, because I am, like you said, I'm multi-passionate over these different things. I'm like, what am I here for? I can help people in different ways. But I do think it gives us that space. So it's similarly like you launched the thing and it didn't go the way you wanted, but then actually when you look back, well, what happened off the back of it? Like I always tell this story when I was launch Rocket Ship, I was telling everyone, like, I've not had successful launches every time I've launched. Like one launch, I remember this one launch was like a flop, but then I ended up getting a one-to-one client that worked with me for a whole year off the back of it. She worked with me for like 3 months for health, and we did like money mindset, and then she came and did like a 4-month business intensive, and I'm like, well, that wasn't a flop. I got like a 12-month client out of this thing. So yeah, things are always like working out for us. Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, I love that you gave that answer. The other thing I was gonna say is like, you just have the belief. And I think that's one of the things that trips people up, is they just don't believe it enough. And so even if things are like going their way, they get to that first speed bump and they're like, they quit. They don't keep going through it. Whereas yours, like, I mean, in my head, like, you never have speed bumps, but obviously you are going to have speed bumps. You're a human, things are going to happen, right? But you keep moving through the speed bumps. Instead of like, this is too hard. And it's why I know we had this conversation actually recently in the mastermind. It was like, do you need to do mindset work before you do business coaching or whatever? And I agree with you. I don't think you have to do mindset work, but I do think you need a strong mindset. You need strong self-worth. You need to be able to handle rejection.
Yes.
You need to be able to hold boundaries with clients if you don't want to burn out. It's so much. Yeah. Sorry, Bridget, you talk.
No, you just got me so excited. I'm like, yeah. I was thinking about, I'm thinking a lot about this recently because I met someone at a conference recently and she said, she's a mindset coach. And I realized, I need to switch up some of my messaging because she said to me, I get a lot of people that come to me and say, I want to hire Bridget, but I know I need to work on my mindset before I work with Bridget. And I thought, oh my God, what you don't realize is that actually 98, I would argue 99.9% of the work that I do is mindset, energetics, and embodiment. And the 0.01% is strategy. Because they see they see us trailblazing, they see us moving, but actually, and you're really good at this. Like, I feel like you and I we always have a really nice blend of strategy, energetics, mindset work. When I work with people, I know that's the case. So I want to get in their head because they're thinking about it differently than me. And that just really, I was like, oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So this weekend, as an example, this weekend, I dropped Bridget a message like Friday afternoon. I was like, Bridget or anyone else in mastermind, like if you wanted to drive a massive cash injection into the business this weekend, like who would you be? What would you do? Blah, blah, blah. And like, you didn't come back with any strategy. You came back with like a couple of minutes of energetics mindset stuff. And I won't do you justice to butcher it if I said it, but it was all about that. Like you just said, it's all about who you're being. It was like living your life, having fun, like being that energetic match, believing it is possible for you. Obviously drop the thing and tell people about it. Otherwise they won't know they can buy it. But you definitely a lot of, and then like I said right at the start, it's the reason I signed up for the mastermind. It wasn't for like, how many calls am I going to get? Like, it was just like, I just want to be around this person. Like this person is doing big things and you're an incredible presenter. Like there's nothing beats a Bridget masterclass. Like if I watch you in a training, and obviously I've watched a lot of your trainings now, there's just something so activating about every single one. So I just wanted to give you that little love bomb.
Thank you. I've been really reflecting on that recently. That is definitely one of my superpowers is speaking one to many in big presentations and room. I really love that. And that's why, I've done a lot of different retreats over the last couple of years, but I love them. Like they light my soul on fire. And also a piece of my soul's like, you're supposed to do them bigger. Like they're supposed to be like stages and hundreds of people in the room, because that's actually the bigger the audience. And this was the same thing in dance when I was performing. The smaller the audience, the more I would be like, but the bigger the room and the space, I would be like, let's go. Like there's just something about the vastness of a big space.
I agree. And like, this, right? I've gone 2024 goal. It's like I'm on stages, like I'm on these huge stages around the world because it's something I miss about my corporate job. It's like presenting to 2,000 people, presenting to group CEOs, whatever it is. And it was so funny. I was going to show you this. I recorded a little clip. I was going to drop it into Slack because I've been saying this recently, the last month or so to Bridget. It's like, this is the goal. I did a post about this the other week. I was like, why I'm not speaking to my mentor about financial goals right now, which is, it isn't true, right? Because we have got financial goals, but actually I'm not sitting down with Bridget every week going, how can I make this much money this week? I'm going, how can I speak on stages? How can I host like my retreat next year, etc. Like this is what we're talking about. And so it was really funny because I was watching one of my I did this, it was called Confidence Bootcamp. It was a confidence training last October. And I was like tapping back into this version of me like last year. And I was watching one of these trainings and it was literally October last year. And in that I say, I want to speak on stages. I want to write books. And I recorded it to send you because it's like, I've been saying this for a year. Like, Lynda, why are you not doing this yet? You said there's always an excuse, right? It's like, well, I can't because I was breastfeeding and like I couldn't leave the baby and all this kind of stuff. It's like, you've not got any excuses anymore. Like your child, I mean, I do still breastfeed a little bit, but he can survive a night without me. So but no, to your point, again, it's like an energetic thing, right? Like more people, we go bigger, get more excited, and that's going to scare some people, and that's actually going to send some people into, I'd rather it was a really intimate one-to-one space and with people, which is beautiful and perfect. And it's about knowing ourselves. And it's like, there's only so much one-to-one I can do before I get really drained and really depleted. Like
Yes.
I love it, and it will always form a big part of my stuff, because obviously I do deep healing stuff, but actually being on stages energizes me so much. And it's like, give me the biggest room and the biggest stage.
Yeah.
And let me put some heels on.
Hey, that needs to be your next post. Give me the biggest room, the biggest stage, and let me put some heels on is my new business strategy.
Yes. Yeah. So Bridget's amazing at content. Let's talk about this. Okay, we're gonna go all over the place really quickly. So we're going to talk about creating movements, but something that Bridget is incredible at, and she hammers into us all in the mastermind all the time, is like, your content is what's selling for you, and you need to master content. And ultimately, it's so true, because it doesn't really matter where you are. Like, we have a bit of a joke in the mastermind, because everybody's like, well, it feels like everybody, they're not all. It feels like everybody's on TikTok and blown up on TikTok. And I tried it and I didn't like it. And Bridget's like, Lynda, not you. You don't go on TikTok. But it's
don't do it.
Don't do it. It's not for you. I'm a long form girl. I love long conversations. I'm a YouTube. I'm an audiobook. Like, I like long stuff. So we're working on YouTube strategy. Anyway. But what's my point? What are we even talking about here?
Content.
The content. Yeah. So it's like, but it's so true. Wherever you end up going, whatever your favorite channel is or multiple channels is, if you are getting your content right and you are warming your audience up and they're already falling in love with you and they already like, let's go. It's almost like the story sequence doesn't matter. It's almost like the sales page doesn't matter, because they're already bought in. Like, yeah. So how did you get so good at content? Were you always good at content? Is it been an evolution? Content tips, talk to us.
Awful. I was terrible. Awful. I used to have this terrible, like, self-deprecating mantra when I first started my business, and it was, I make content like my mother. Because when my mom makes content, she's like, it's just like, it doesn't land. Like, it's like, but it lands for her audience. And I didn't grow up on social media. And so I used to always think that because I wasn't younger, I mean, and I'm 28, so it's not like I'm like not young. I'm not saying that, but I didn't grow up on social media, and I was actually very anti-social media. This usually shocks people, but I would say around 2019, 2018, I was anti social media. I judged people that posted on social media. I was jealous of people that would get more likes than me. I actually really wasn't on any app. And that was on my stuff to work through. And when I first started posting on social media, I was atrocious. Like, I couldn't get it to land. There was always like this weird gap between who I was actually as a person and then who I would show up on social media. Like, you know how people call it like the millennial pause? You know what
I haven't heard that, but I'll go with it.
It's called like the millennial pause, where basically you go on social media and you pause before there's like a slight disconnect. It was like, I couldn't understand how I went into these apps and how to communicate that. Okay, but this is a really big piece. I knew I sucked. And a lot of people, they're not self-aware. And this is what one of the number one things I want to teach people is, if you're self-aware, you can make more money, you can sign on more clients, you can get better at this skill. If you're not self-aware, you're going to keep repeating the same pattern. And I see this in content a lot. People don't realize that their margins are off. Their photos look like crap. Their videos are blurry. The hooks are all in the wrong place. But if you were aware, you would look at other people and notice what works and what doesn't work. I was looking at someone's reel this morning and I thought, oh gosh, you're not observing what works on these platforms.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a time, Lynda, in 2021 when I started. Yeah. In 2021, I said, you have to get good at this. You have to get good at this. And so I posted 10 reels a day.
Yeah.
10 reels a day. And because I'm a confident, certain human being, other people saw this and started copying me. And I was like, you guys, this is not a strategy. I'm literally putting in the reps.
Practicing. Yeah.
I'm taking my booty to the gym every day, 10 times a day, the business gym, because I need to get good at this. But then it worked and I got better at it.
Yeah. It was when I started working with you, I'm someone who's always had a very bad relationship with social media. Or similar to you, I didn't grow up with it. I was a very late adopter. And then I used to just get really bitter. And I'm projector in human design, so bitter, you're not self-theme. I was like, I'm really bitter towards other people who were like blowing up. And I'd be like, my content is so much more valuable. So like on the health side, I'd put like so much education in, and I thought I was like doing like the most, so much more than anyone else. And I could help transform your life in these posts and stuff. And I remember when I started working with you, and like I say, like this like didn't come to you for strategy, but we'll do the strategy anyway. And it was like, Lynda, you need to simplify it. You need to sort out your hooks. You need to simplify.
Yes.
And we just strip back and strip back and strip back. And next thing, you know, I've only got 3,000 followers on Instagram, and I'm like, my reels are getting like 10,000, 13,000, all these kind of things. And it's like, oh, I've got past that 1,000 mark where I was getting stuck. And actually it's like, you know, success leaves clues, right? And so instead of hating on people who are blowing up and doing really well, go and see why they're blowing up and doing well. And there is that little like rebel in me, right? I'm an Aquarian moon. I'm a little like black sheep. Yeah. I'm like, there is a rebel of me. Like, I want to do it without having to like play the game. Right. And it's like, but actually that's where I can use the other platforms. That's where I can YouTube. That's where I can use podcasts. I can, but if I'm going to use Instagram, I need to play by Instagram rules.
Yes. I have chills right now. Lynda, this is what that mindset shift is what made me go from 30,000 to 60,000 in 1 month cash and never go below that. I'm very rebellious like you. And I was like, I want to be different. I want to make cool reels. I want to make cool carousel posts that don't fit the margins. I want them to be, I'm an artist. Like I want them to be unique. Yes. But what that did was push it. The algorithm was like, you don't like us. You're anti us. They're a business and we don't own Instagram. And so you, like, are you saying you have to play by the rules? That's, someone needed to hear that listening to this.
Yeah, definitely. No, yeah, you do. Like, well, no, it was you that gave me that mindset shift, because it's like, because the other thing I used to have, and I joke about it now, is one of my old mentors who was very into like energetics, and I mean, she's got 100,000 followers. She's incredible, right? And what she's done has worked for her, but it did not work for me, which was just this thing of, but like, if you're not in the energy, kind of just don't do anything. So then I just wouldn't be in the energy for 3 weeks. So I wouldn't post for 3 weeks.
Yes.
And so that's the other thing is like, again, you need to show up. Like this algorithm, like this business needs to trust that you are giving value to their customers. So if you're not going to show up and give their customers value, they're not going to show you to anyone. And so it is like, you've got to respect you're on a free platform that is allowing you to make, I mean, in Bridget's case, well over 100,000 a month. By using it, right? Which is obviously like the goal that I want to work towards as well and beyond.
And it's crazy. And if you just study the explore page and just spend, I do it even now. Like I'll still go because if the algorithm changes, I'll just go and study. Like, why are they going viral? And because if you know how to sell and you know how to go viral, even better. You know how to get reach and you know how to create copy that brings people in, then you're going to be golden. You're definitely going to scale to the 100K months or wherever. But just going to the explore page and studying what works. And like you were saying, success leaves clues, look for that. And then just write down what works. And even if you just adopt one thing, it will make a big difference in your content.
Yeah. Let's talk about the money. Because I am constantly inspired by you. The numbers that you're hitting are insane. And I know they're like rapidly growing still, and there's these huge goals coming. And I remember when I joined the mastermind and it was like, I want to hit 30K months. And I had this mindset block beyond 30. And this is going to sound ridiculous when I say it out loud, but humor me, people. In my head, when you make money, you need to spend money, right? So in my head, I can spend 30 grand a month, right? There's places I can put it, as well as have a little bit of savings, right? I'm not anyone that's done anything like Bitcoin or like trade, I don't even know the words, right? I don't do anything like that. Crypto, whatever it is, I don't do. I got on the property ladder when I was young. I've got properties, like that's where my money goes. But in my head, I was like, I can't get my head beyond needing inverted commas anything more, because that is already abundance that allows me to travel, that allows me to do loads of experiences every single weekend, eat out whenever I want, organic food, go to the gym, whatever it is, and put a little bit aside for the boys as they grow up, right? And then getting into your world, it was something ridiculous, like the second month of just like me just chatting through stuff. And we weren't talking about financial goals. I was talking about how I want my product suite to look. And you were like, Linda's 50K months. And I'm like, what? And then I'm like, oh my God, it is. And then I'm like, well, if I can hit 50, then you can see how it gets to 100. But then suddenly I'm freaking out in my head, because I'm like, am I someone that can hold this much money? Like, what am I going to do with this money? I'm freaking out. But anyway, this isn't about me. This is about you. What you have managed to do is just create this incredible abundance, wealth mindset where it's like more and more money comes. And something you talk about is, because I was like, oh, what do I do? And you're like, is who you can become when you have the money. But in your words, because I'm just putting stuff in your head, like, let's just talk to people about money, right? Money mindset. How have you managed to expand that? Because I'm guessing you didn't like come from wild abundance.
No, I didn't come from money. I was like, work hard. Like my parents, maybe when my dad had his business, he would make like maybe maximum 100K in a year. But then my dad got sick, and then we were relying on my mom's paycheck, which was under 100K. So I didn't come from money. I came from work hard. That was the real difference. And so when I notice a couple of things happen, and maybe like you listening to this or watching this happens to you, I would make money. So I would hit like, I would stay at the 20K to 30K cash mark. I stayed at that for like 6-7 months, just that over and over again. What would happen is I would make money, and then I would take my foot off the gas and put it on the brake. And it comes up in little ways. It would be like not showing up as much on Instagram stories, or I would go from posting every day to posting 4 days per week. Or I would go from, energetically being like fun and in my natural state to like, I'm just going to be quiet and not say anything. And I started to just repattern how I showed up. And I said, when you notice these things, I feel like that's a common factor here. Self-awareness. When you notice it coming up, repattern. And what I mean by that is, okay, so if you make a lot of money this month and you notice you're pulling away from showing up on Instagram stories, the minute you notice that, go show up on Instagram stories. Don't wait until you look good. Don't wait for the perfect energy. You just start repatterning in the moment. And so I just started saying, okay, what would happen if you keep putting your foot on the gas and this is like a fine line. It's not from a place of like burnout to don't rest. Because I'm not saying that, because I also think you can rest, nap, take breaks from social media and still make more money. But what I mean by is like being energetically still involved in it. You keep pushing on the gas. And what you realize is that you actually can go way further than you think that you can go. And so I started to do that. And then the business just was like, boom, boom, like more and more, because I pushed the ball up the hill till it hit momentum, went over, and then it starts moving faster than you can even move. So your business starts making sales without you really even doing anything all of the time. So, I mean, that was one of the biggest things of noticing, when are you taking your foot off the gas and putting it on the brake and stopping more money coming in?
Yeah. And then in terms of like money mindset stuff, what's helped you shift and dream bigger? Or have you always thought, I'm going to make multi-million? Like,
no. What, I still have the vision board. It was like $5,000 a month. I will have made it. It was like, yes, that's the one. No, well, what has happened is I've stopped shifting money being mortal and started shifting money being energetic. And I don't think I really talk about this a lot, but it's really important. So when you were talking about how, when you're making $30,000 a month, I think about how can I spend that? I don't actually think about money like, how can I spend $100,000 in the mortal ground, like on stuff or experiences? I think energetically, like, what will it feel like when I have that amount of money? I just don't even see money as a transaction mortal thing. It's more like a energetic being over here, where it's not about how do I operate I keep saying mortal, but how do I operate on earth with money, and more about how do I energetically feel when I have larger amounts of money, which then goes back to more of the being piece.
Yeah, I've noticed this in the mastermind, which I really love, because I'm not like a materialistic person. And like, I'm not the person buying the handbags and the shoes or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
I always thought, I'd be on my own, but like pretty much everyone in the mastermind is pretty much the same. Everyone's like investing in experiences.
Yes.
They're investing in personal development through being part of the mastermind, or, coaching, whatever it is. And like experiences, travel, all the different things, which again, it's like, I mean, I started to switch my mindset around money probably around maybe 2017 or something. And I discovered Chris Harder's podcast, and it was called For the Love of Money. And I haven't listened to it for a long, long time. But at the time, he used to talk about when good people make good money, they do good things in the world. And I was still in corporate at this time. And it was before I had kids or anything. But it was like, it really transformed my mindset around money then, because I, similar to you, grew up really hardworking parents. It's like the longer hours you work, the more you get, and all the different things. And it was like, it was always like, money doesn't grow on trees. Like, you work hard for it. Rich people are greedy, rich people are entitled, whatever it is. And I had a lot of stuff I had to work through around that. But his podcast really transformed things for me. And again, I don't know what it's like these days, but then starting to realize, actually, yeah, you have it. You get to it just makes you more of who you are. Like, so if you're a generous person, you just be more generous, give more to charity. If you love to travel, you'll just travel more. It's not, you're sort of suddenly going to become an evil person, right? And like, for me, now I've got kids, obviously, like the whole generational wealth thing, I'd love to be in a position where, because you do worry about your kids, you do worry about, okay, like what's going to happen in the future. If they're in a position where they never have to work again, that'd be really nice. Like, they get to work for the fun of it, but like if something goes on and, so yeah, I do think that it's not talked about enough, money and the good of money. And I just want to get more money in the hands of women, to be honest with you, because I just think men had the upper hand for so long. So I love seeing women do incredibly well. Right. I know we're approaching the end of time. So let's talk before we wrap up and talk about what you've got and people can work with you. And I can't believe how fast time has gone.
I know.
Let's talk more.
I didn't realize.
This is what my one-to-ones with Bridget are like, right? We literally just sit down and there's like, oh my God, it's time. Yeah. Let's talk more about movement. So I know we talked about it at the start, right? And you talked about that you help people create movements, but you gave the example of how you were like talking about memberships like 12 months ago or 2 or whatever it was. And then you've like been talking about movements. It's like almost people are starting to follow you, right? And I absolutely love that. So let's talk about the Freedom Queen movement specifically and how that all came about and what it's about. And yes, the crown.
I've just always started from the place of building a movement. It's like
you need to do this again, Bridget, because it might have been on me on the recording.
Oh, while I'm talking, the Freedom Queen out. Well, I've always built from a place of shared identity, vision, and community. And those are the three main points that I see inside of a really strong movement. You have the shared identity. Okay, Freedom Queen. You are all moving in the same direction, building multi-million-dollar movements. And then there's a community aspect, which is amazing for retention and ascension. It's one thing to just get people results and have them leave your programs. It's another thing to build a community and a international, like where people become like not like raving fans of you and they spread the word.
Say the messages. Sending the message for you. Yeah.
And I've always done that from the beginning. And I had worked with people before that don't build movements. And I noticed there was something different about the way that I was building it, the way that I was indoctrinating my community, the way that I was sharing the message, the way that I was talking about the work that we do. And what it does is it leaves people with a feeling. And so when I first started, one of my very first programs was Manifesting Freedom Academy, because I had manifested freedom and I was big into embodiment manifestation for business owners. And I would always, I really love like Lord of the Rings. I really love that type of literature and books like that. And so I love queens and royalty and castles, big castle nerd. And I hosted a retreat in a castle. And so I always call queen. People always think like, are you saying like, people will talk about like queen, like you're a queen. And I'm like, no, I'm talking about like queen, like royalty, queen, reigning, serving, impacting, pioneering, lots of responsibility and leadership. And my client one day was like, you call us queens. I love it. And I used to wear these white, big, oversized button-down shirts to calls. And my one client one day told everyone to come to the call in white button-down oversized shirts for Manifesting Freedom Academy. And I realized in that moment, I was like, we're the freedom queens, like freedom queen. And I just started infiltrating my entire messaging with, I am a freedom queen. I am a freedom queen. I am a freedom queen. And it just started to spread like wildfire. And so now, I mean, one of the biggest things that's happened to me recently, Lynda, was on our mastermind call when one of the clients said to me, she's like, I was having a really hard day. And the first thing I did was reach to touch the Freedom Queen necklace. And I was like, wow, that's it. When someone else said to me the other day, I remember the first time I called myself a Freedom Queen. Like she was pondering on it. And I was like, what? Me too.
Yeah. And I love that, like, that you feel like you're part of something bigger. It's like a sisterhood. It's like, obviously you've got so many different levels. You've got your membership, you've got your mastermind, all the different places. But yeah. So with that said, I'm about to cough. I'm gonna let you speak again. Talk to us about how all the different levels then, how people can come into the Freedom Queen movement.
Well, the first place and the best place is the membership, the Make Money membership. And I'm sure we'll put a link in the show notes here. And we have a discount code just for Lynda's, for your audience. But the Make Money membership is the place to be ignited. It's the place to set your soul free. And it's the place like what Lynda and I've been talking about, the simplicity. Like maybe you've been told you have to do 500 million things in your business in order to make money. It's a place for simplicity, but also remembering who you are. And that's like the appetizer of Freedom Queen. Like you just want to get in the community. You just want to know like what's going on here. And then we have our next level. It's like a VIP version of the membership that has more coaching and mentorship. 6 months, it's called the headquarters. That's a place where you get more customization. So it's like, great, you've tried the appetizer, but now you want the course. You want to eat the good meals. You want to be around other women that are going for bigger numbers in their business, but you don't need full on mastermind. And then we have the highest tier, which is the $1 Million Movements Mastermind, which is the one that Lynda's in. And that's just like, you know, you're the one. Like, you know, you're it. You're ready to be all in. You want that big energy, that activation, that movement. Like you want to not just be like an industry leader, like you want to take over the world. Like that should be the tagline, take over the world inside of in the mastermind. So those are the 3 tiers. And they're all, most of them are long-term style coaching.
Yeah. And I just want to say that you can know that you're the one and be at membership level, and that is okay, and work up to the mastermind. Like, because the energy in all of Bridget's worlds, whether you're in the membership or the mastermind, is you know, you're the one anyway. It's just like, it's okay that if you do slightly different place in business, right? Because Bridget is just amazing at like helping people. Because I always come to the membership calls like every single month, and they are just as activating as going to a mastermind call. They're incredible, right? Because you're such well, an activator is the word, but like you empower women to dream bigger, to go for more, all the different things. Like you're always just like, yeah, you know, raise your prices, you know, do this thing. Like it's just like, why wouldn't you, Lynda? Just like do the thing, right? And it's just like, but you like that in any space. So yeah, I mean, it's incredible. All the Bridget spaces are incredible. You've got a program coming up. So at the time of this going out, I think it's going to go like, at time of recording, I think it'll be next week. So it's going to be ahead of your next like wealth program. So talk about that as well.
The Wealth Embodied program. So I dropped this program because everyone I see is deeply craving the being, like the patterning into the body, what we've been talking about. Like that's
why I want to mention it. Yeah. Because it feels so relevant.
It is. It's like, okay, this is what basically why I dropped this program is because there's a common denominator between people that I see that always win and people that don't. It's that they are someone that identifies as a winner. And when you do that, doesn't matter the strategy, the platform, the algorithm, the government, the community, you're going to win. And that's really what I'm fascinated by teaching people, not by teaching people what to do, but who to be in order to have the things that they actually want. So Wealth Embodied, it's a 2-week group coaching program that's dropping at the end of November.
There's that saying, isn't there? It's like, there's always going to be people out there who are less qualified, like less good, all the different things than you, but they're having far more success just because they believe in themselves more, and like they're doing the work that you're saying, which is patting it into the body. And so this is another thing, like for me, because I work with a lot of like self-sabotaging perfectionists who always like low self-worth, poor confidence, like never think they are enough. Like this is a sort of work, like all of you get inside of Bridget's program, because, or get in the membership, or get somewhere in Bridget's well, because this is the stuff that you need. Like, you guys are so capable, you could do so much more, and you're holding yourself back, and you just need to believe and go for it.
Yes.
Bridget, this has been a gift. I have been
so fun.
So grateful that you've come and spoken on Iconic, the podcast, and open season 2. You're incredible. Tell people, I mean, we're going to drop everything in the show notes, but where would you like people to come and find you?
Instagram, Bridget James Ling. Go to Instagram, get involved in the community. If you know you're the one, get inside of something, or just send me a message and be like, what do I join? And we'll tell you.
Yeah, amazing. So grateful to you. I'm going to stop this recording and then we'll have a little chat. But thank you so much, guys. Thank you for listening. Please give us a tag and a share to IG stories. There is going to be a little competition running to support the relaunch. So I don't know those details yet, but they're probably in the show notes.
Share it.
If you do share, you'll be even the chance of winning. He's not just doing it for the sake of doing it either. So let us know your greatest takeaway, because we want to know that we're changing your lives, changing the world. And I'll see you here again next week. Lots of love.